Hi. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. I know. That's 2 streams in a row. 2 streams in a row that I did not wait for I did not wait for the countdown clock. A little loud on the mic. You mean like this? Hey, everyone. Hey. Welcome in to another stream. Donald Trump is about to speak because we're bombing Iran. So, that's what we're doing here in the United States. Hi! How we doing, everybody? Can you please test the emergency signal again? I just need a big button and then it's like an emergency. Woo-woo! Kwan News Network. Hogan, thank you for the gifted sub. Alicat, thank you for the 2 months. I feel like I just saw some of you guys. I cannot move my arm without pain. In case you're wondering how my arm is feeling after I was streaming earlier today. Yeah, it's gonna feel worse tomorrow. Well, these are the things. These are the things that you just got to do, to bring you guys on the ground reporting. Okay, here we go. Are they just going to cut and copy paste Bush's speech from when he informed the public that we were going to war in Iraq, but maybe just change a couple things around? Right? Maybe substitute.
I did archery today
might
and kept
accidentally
smacking my
say
arms
Iraq
on release.
instead of Iran.
Now I have 2 big bruises.
Now you have 2 big bruises. XS, thank you for the 15 months. Hello, I have nothing to say about current events. I am just tired of the world. Antonio, I get it. Oh, here he comes. Oh. Here he comes, our great supreme leader. All right, let's see. Let's get ready for the bullshit.
Much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities
oh my God, look at these
in the
losers.
Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them.
Oh, that seems
God
so
bless
unnatural coming
the
out
Middle
of his
East.
mouth.
God bless
I wanna
Israel, and
thank
God bless
God.
America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh my God. I want to thank God. You know that shit coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. That's like it's like a dog walking on its hind legs. It's not a natural thing. He was like, fuck, I got to remember to thank God. I got to remember to thank God. And Mike Huckabee is over here like, oh, God, yes, yes. He's probably sending Trump another text message right now like, sir, thank you for thanking him as he speaks to you in this trying time, as God is directing you to bomb the evil that is in the Middle East. Well, okay, that's it, I guess. Live, U.S. Trump Iran address. Well, if he still won't get his deserved Nobel Peace Prize for this, he might have to invade Oslo and force them to. Can we just... Can someone go, look, we'll give you your peace, we'll give you the fucking prize if you just don't do this. Like, you want this thing so badly, or like, I don't know, give him a fake one, you know? Oh God, this shit is so fucking Crusades coded. I am just a bio-drummer. Thank you for the 4 months. Whoa, it's me. Thank you for the 8-9 months. I'm just, this is insanity. This is insanity to be talking about religious extremism and how we have to go snuff it out. We got to go liberate the gays. We got to go liberate women. Said by people who hate the gays and who hate women. That we have to go, whatever, take care of the great threat in Iran because of the evils of Islam. And we're like, the United States is the U.S. president and his advisors are all talking about God. They're like, yeah, thanks God for helping us out on this one, for helping us to destroy religious fundamentalist regime. What are we? Oh man, you guys, I'm glad I'm not the only one losing my mind. Look, like so many of us are going crazy because we don't want this. We're not, we know what's going on here. We've been through this before. This is, when we said that Y2K era was back, Tate McRae and all these pop girlies, and we're like, woohoo, Y2K is back. Well, all of Y2K is back. Another war in the Middle East, I guess, comes along with the return of the Y2K era, which it's like, okay, can we get can we do low-rise jeans and not war in the Middle East? When we talked about bringing back Y2K, we're talking about whale tails. We're talking about thongs and low-rise jeans. Not bombing brown people in the Middle East. Oh my God. Human Sunshine Maddie, thank you for the 18 months. You guys, I fucking don't know. I don't know. Earlier today, I was like, solidarity, yes. A better world is possible. Look at all these people who are out here, who are protesting the U.S. war machine, who are against this violence, who are against genocide, who are against just killing civilians under the guise of liberating them. Oh, goodness. I don't know. You know what? I feel like this is one of those times of I just want to be with people who also feel, just so angry. AOC is calling for impeachment tonight. Is she going live? Nutty Kiwis, thank you for the 5 months. Sad History grad, thank you for the 18 months. Girl, we are. Ay, ay, ay. Not to mention him thinking Israel, half this country is dumb enough to think, are we doing this for the Jews so much for caring about anti-Semitism? I've said this a million times, but guess what? You make anti-Semitism a thing. You make anti-Semitism worse when you associate a fascist genocidal state with all of the Jewish people in this world, where it's like, oh, okay, so Israel equals all of the Jews, and we see what Israel is doing. So therefore, I'm going to have a negative perception of Jewish people. And it's exhausting because as a leftist, we are having to constantly fight all of these different bigotries, right? All of this hatred. You know, it's like fight against the evils of a genocidal fascist empire while also being like, hey, this is what worsens anti-Semitism. Hey, see how these white supremacists are taking advantage of this moment to be anti-Semitic, but through the lens of look at how evil Israel is? Oh, God. I was only a month old when we first invaded Iraq. Now I get to experience this consciously. Seriously, even some of the younger ones in here, some of y'all in here who are younger, you were still alive. You were probably born when Iraq happened. So this has now been your whole lifetime, your whole lifetime that we have spent billions, trillions of dollars and killed countless people in the Middle East in the name of the United States empire. Baby's first Middle East invade. Well, here, you know what? Let me walk you down memory lane. For those of you who were too young, and maybe in the years since you have not, let's see, not, wait, what the heck? Didn't I save a bunch of stuff too? Oh, wait. George Bush. Hold on. Okay, here we go. This is George Bush on March 19th, 2003, announcing the start of the Iraq War. Do you think that people will finally pronounce Iraq and Iran correctly, or it will be Iran, Iraq? We going into Iraq? We're going into Iran. I saw a tweet that was like, if you pronounce it Iran, then IDGAF about your opinion. Iran to Iraq. Ugh. God. It's like, okay, so we've been doing this long enough. Can we get the pronunciation down or no? Is that too much? It's too much to ask for. We can't even pronounce these countries that we invade and blow up. You guys mobilized so fast, massive props. Well, I look, at the protest I was at today, that was like 30 different groups, 30 different organizations that have been out here mobilizing, organizing. So all credit to them. I just went and captured footage of the protest today. Queen Witch, thank you for the 3 months. All right, so here we go. It was 22 years ago. 22 years ago.
On March 19, 2003, President Bush announced the start of military action in Iraq, Operation
Deanie,
Iraqi
thank you
Freedom.
for the bits.
Up next, his 5-minute address from the Oval Office.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
Isn't that funny how that's always how this goes? We're freeing the people by killing them, because people are free when you kill them. We're freeing them from life. We are freeing them from life because we kill them. And we're keeping the world safe by killing brown people in the Middle East. Isn't that such a great deal? Hey, don't you want to be free? Don't you want to be free? Why aren't you saying thank you? Why are you not saying thank you?
On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign. More than 35 countries are giving crucial support, from the use of naval and air bases.
Yeah, that's the other thing they'll do too, right? They'll say, no, we only strike military targets. Oh, that's the same shit that Israel says, right? Meanwhile, 90% of those who have died in Iran are civilians, because that's what always happens. So it's the same. You'll hear this a million times. It is the same playbook. Oh, we've struck really important military targets. Ooh, we've gotten in there and taken out their dangerous military assets, those weapons that they are going to use on us. And you guys, after 9/11, so there was total fear gripping the country that New York was only the beginning. And politicians fed into that fear, right? The media fed into that fear. In the same way that right now, what you're going to see is a lot of fear mongering around, Iran has, you better watch out for there to be terrorist activity in the United States, right? That Iran's going to have its sleeper cells. Iranian sleeper cells are going to strike the U.S. It is the same playbook. Remember the show Homeland? Yeah, and you know what came before Homeland? 24. 24 walked so Homeland could run. Katie, thank you for the 10 months. Fear the Diet Coke. Thank you for the Prime. Hogan, thank you for the Tier 3. 33 months. Tier 3. Deanie, thank you for the bits.
To help with intelligence and logistics.
Like, we didn't even get a false flag. We didn't even get a false flag. We didn't even get like a dramatic theater performance from Colin Powell holding out yellow cake, right? Like, we're not even getting the whole show that we did last time. They're just like, nope. We're not. We're cutting corners this time. We're cutting corners. I'm sorry, but the picture in the background has me cackling. Who's that smiling? He has a picture of Laura on the right, and then that's a picture of his daughters on the left. He's a family man. George Bush is a family guy. He loves candy. He just paints his pictures now. Do you remember? Oh my God, you guys! Do you remember when the Dems were promoting how like George Bush, how every former president who was still alive was against Donald Trump? That it was like George Bush holding hands with Obama, holding hands with Carter. And it was like this great coalition of the former US presidents being against Donald Trump. Wow. Wasn't that awesome? Oh, man. Where's Barack Obama? What's he got to say? Where's my favorite drone bomber? Teeny, thank you for some more bits.
To the deployment of combat units. Every nation in this coalition has chosen to bear the duty and share the honor of serving in our common defense. To all the men and women of the United States Armed Forces now in the Middle East, the peace of a troubled world and the hopes of an oppressed people now depend on you. That trust is well placed. The enemies you can...
And meanwhile, people in Iran, even people in Iran who fucking hate the government, are like, yeah, no, we don't want you guys to bomb us. Iranians are like, yeah, look, we don't fuck with the Ayatollah, but we also don't fuck with the United States and with Israel bombing us. We don't want this. Let us take care of our business in our country. Like, do you think that people are just sitting in Iran, not having pushed for political and social change? Do you think that there are not leftist groups, that there are not that there are not organizations in Iran who have dedicated their lives, same in the United States, same all over the world, to protesting authoritarianism, government repression? Of course there are. But they can't do that because we go in and bomb the shit out of them. Like, this is their country. This is their government that, well, there's a long history in the United States installing puppet leaders for our own interests. And it's like, enough is enough. Should Iran be allowed to create nuclear weapons? You know what? At this point, seeing as having nukes is the only way to deter the Western powers from going in and meddling in your affairs, bombing your people, then yes. As a nation, if you want to hold on to your sovereignty, you have to have nukes. I don't want there to be any nukes. I want total denuclearization. But we are in the third nuclear age. We're at a point where the 9 nuclear armed states have the equivalent of a 145,000 bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima. Okay? That Israel is armed to the teeth with nuclear power. And they are not part of the international nuclear treaties because, remember, they don't have nukes, even though, yeah, they fucking do. They refuse inspections. So that's where we're at. One of those dangerous states is in possession of at least 90 nuclear warheads that they refuse to allow any inspection of. So, yeah, at this point, as far as should Iran have nukes, well, I think if you are a state that wants to hold on to your sovereignty, that wants to deter the United States from bombing you, then you have to. This is CNN's actual program name right now. Oh, CNN. Oh my God. CNN is salivating over their cheerleading of this latest war. I was watching Vance Jones. I was watching Anderson Cooper. Why Iran Hates America, a Fareed Zakaria special. We're just running it back. Iraq hates America. Iraq says death to America, and that's why we gotta bomb them.
Front will come to know your skill and bravery. The people you liberate will witness the honorable and decent spirit of the American military. In this conflict,
the people we liberate will recognize the honor and decency of the U.S. military. Yeah, you know what doesn't happen? That. Yeah, do you think that Iraqis look at the U.S. military are like, oh, thank you so much. You murdered my entire family. My whole family is dead. I'm missing limbs. I am forever disabled, but thank you so much, honorable, kind U.S. military. Thank you for dropping a bomb directly on my house where I lived with my entire family, and now everyone is dead. Thank you. All of my neighbors are dead. My home country has been so destroyed and destabilized. Thank you so much, U.S. military. It is this idea of, oh God, I need a second before I listen to this fucking psychopath. I know y'all are going to be mad, but I'll say it again. And that mixed lady who likes to giggle wouldn't have done this. Oh, the libs are activating. The libs are activating. Real Life Lore did a good video on why Iran doesn't actually like America.
As a part of my exclusive Modern Conflict series.
Okay, hold on a sec. Randy Fine status. Great. Let my blood pressure's not high enough yet. There's a reason what the fuck? There's a reason the first time I shook Netanyahu's hand, I did not wash it until I could touch the heads of my children. Why are these people such freaks? Oh my God, why are they so fucking insane? Why are they so insane? You did not wash your hands when you shook Netanyahu's hands because you wanted to touch the heads of your children? Why? So that they could sense how many children have died at the hands of Netanyahu? So are we saying that we would prefer that Saddam and Bin should be alive after 9/11? No. You are not listening to what I'm saying. First of all, Saddam did not orchestrate 9/11, okay? And what we did was, though, because we wanted to go into Iraq, because we wanted to secure our oil interests, because we were like, we've been wanting to invade here, so you know what we're going to do? We are going to tie Saddam into these attacks. We are going to call this the War on Terror. We are going to go in under the guise of having to stop this great threat, having to protect not only the people of Iraq, but the people in the United States of America, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Chatter, I need you to understand. Okay. I am not saying that Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden were not bad motherfuckers. Okay? Now, I think you should be aware at one point the U.S. worked with Saddam. There is a famous photo of Donald Rumsfeld, who was one of the orchestrators of 9/11. He was the former Secretary of Defense for Bush, shaking Saddam's hand. And when he was asked about it, he just did kind of some evil laugh and was like, yeah. Yeah. So once upon a time, the U.S. funded Saddam when they were trying to regime change in Iraq. This is before Saddam came to power. We also funded Al-Qaeda. I know it may be hard to believe, but the United States has a history of providing financial and military aid to terrorist organizations that we use in proxy wars. And the main thing that I need you to understand, and Ashley, thank you for the 32 months. What I need you to understand is what I'm saying here. That yes, there are major problems in Iran. Yes, people face political repression there, but they are not going to be liberated by United States bombs, by bombs that have the flag on them, by the military going in and and doing what the military does in the Middle East. By regime changing, the people are not going to be freed. It is not going to stabilize. This is propaganda, okay? This is what you have to understand. This is propaganda. And think about, if you live in the United States, okay, think about this. There are millions of people who hate Donald Trump, who have been protesting him, who have been out in the streets. Just last Saturday, there were so many nationwide protests. People who call him an authoritarian, because he is, okay? Who talk about the United States government being fascist. Can you imagine, like, is it logical for, let's say, one of the other great superpowers, okay? Russia, China, if they were to go, yeah, we're going to bomb the US to liberate people from Donald Trump. Is that something that you would want? If you, like, maybe you don't oppose Donald Trump, but okay, fine, switch things around. If it's a political leader that you don't support, that you are fighting against, against your rights being suppressed, are you cool with a country going, yeah, we're going to liberate them from their government? Liberate them. And look at what's happening in Palestine, all right? When people will pinkwash, when they'll use the excuse of like, oh yeah, well, if you're gay in Palestine, they'll throw you off a roof. If you're anything in Palestine, you're being killed by Israeli/US bombs. You are being starved. These bombs do not differentiate between whether you are straight or you are gay. These are not bombs that are marked for like, oh, trans, bomb them. So how could the people of Palestine even fight for social progress? How could gay people in Palestine, trans people in Palestine fight for their civil liberties as members of the LGBTQ community when all Palestinians are trying to survive, right? So like this is the logic that is illogical. Oh my God, this guy is such a fucking freak. How are there so many freaks, man? Okay, let me finish his speech. See, I'm trying to show you the parallels. And if you can't understand the propaganda and the lies now, but you like understand how they lied about Iraq, I need you to like look back. I need you to look back on what they said when we invaded Iraq, after we invaded Iraq, and see how it's the same playbook.
America faces an enemy who has no regard for conventions of war or rules of morality. Saddam Hussein has placed Iraqi troops and equipment in civilian areas, attempting to use innocent men, women, and children as shields for his own military.
Human shields.
A final atrocity.
Human shields. We've heard that a million times. Oh yeah, Hamas uses Palestinians as human shields. Oh, Iran is using their civilians as human shields. That's why civilians are dying.
Against his people. I want Americans and all the world to know that coalition forces will make every effort to spare innocent civilians from harm. A campaign on the harsh terrain of a nation as large as California could be longer and more difficult than some predict. And helping Iraqis achieve a united, stable, and free country will require our sustained commitment. We come to Iraq with respect for its citizens, for their great civilization, and for the religious faiths they practice. We have no ambition in Iraq except to remove a threat and restore control of that country to its own people. I know that the families of our military are praying that all those who serve will return safely and soon.
Oh, God, it's just... Look, we are doing this altruistically, okay? We are not seeking to gain anything here. We are simply seeking to liberate the people of Iraq. Hassan brought up the point to Chowder's trying to justify this by bringing up human rights violations when the U.S. still had Jim Crow. Would the Soviets have been justified in nuking the U.S.? That's literally what I'm saying, where you look at the U.S., okay, there's a lot of things that we're fighting, that we are fighting here right now. The fucking Gestapo kidnapping people in daylight, okay? The attacks on trans lives, on trans rights, you know, just getting rid of the LGBTQ hotline, right? Attacks on gender affirming care, women not being able to access abortion. Okay. They just harvested a dead woman's body. They just used her as a vessel, as an incubator, to keep the fetus that was inside of her alive. And then when her body started to decay, they cut it out. The baby weighed 1 pound, but they could not keep it inside her any longer. That happened in the United States. But no, I and not a single person would be like, yeah, there's justification to bomb the US because of our social issues that we have here, that we got to free people in the US by bombing them. As long as Mamdani loses, it'll be okay. Yeah, dude. You're so right. Zohran Mamdani. As long as he loses, it will be okay. What's it? What is it? And how will it be okay? Yeah. Certainly having Andrew Cuomo is going to solve all our problems here. No, I don't think that was sarcastic. No, I've seen some of that chatter's other I've seen some of that chatter's other comments, and so I don't think so. Maybe they'll say I know it was. I was being sarcastic. I'm not a religious person, but technically that baby shouldn't have a soul. It was born from a dead body, so I don't know. That is a genuine question I have. That baby was harvested in a dead woman's body. It was born at 1 pound. It was cut out of her. They kept, she was brain dead. Adriana Smith was brain dead. And they kept her on life support against her family's wishes so that the fetus inside of her, which they were conducting as some sort of sick fucking medical experiment, so that the fetus would stay alive inside of her until they could get to a point that they could remove it. And the reason she died is because she went to the ER. She was having a headache and other symptoms. Turns out she had blood clots in her brain. But they went, you're fine. Didn't run the test that they should have. Sent her home and she died. It's sickening. So let me be clear, okay? When we talk about religious extremism driving this kind of legislation, like the kind in Georgia that meant they were able to use the heartbeat bill as a way to keep this fetus alive inside of a dead woman, because they went, oh no, it's past 6 weeks. Sorry, that's murder. Can't do anything here except keep this fetus alive Sorry to Adriana Smith's family, but the legislation in Georgia overrides your wishes. So yes, there's religious extremism here, okay? Marginalized groups being oppressed. I'm not saying that there is not religious extremism in Iran, in the Middle East. There is religious extremism everywhere. There is misogyny everywhere. And it's not at all saying that women are not battling repression. However, it is fucking rich of the U.S., especially these politicians on the right, who have been doing everything that they can in the United States to repress women, repress LGBTQ people, immigrants, etc., to be like, look at this conservative, insane religious extremism over in Iran. We got to take care of it. We got to free these people.
Millions of Americans are praying with you for the safety of your loved ones and for the protection of the innocent. For your sacrifice, you have the gratitude and respect of the American people. And you can know that our forces will be coming home as soon as their work is done. Our nation enters this conflict reluctantly, yet our purpose is sure. The people of the United States and our friends and allies will not live at the mercy of an outlaw regime.
Yeah, they're coming home as soon as this is done. Almost a decade. But they're coming home soon.
That threatens the peace with weapons.
Women won the right to show their hair in Tehran without the need of American intervention. I mean, Iran was a democracy. Like, I think this is a point that needs to be brought up repeatedly. Iran was a democracy. Iran had democratically elected a president. They had overthrown the monarchy. They said, enough, no more shahs. No more monarchy. We, the people, are going to elect a leader. And guess what happened? Guess who came in and went, I don't think so. The CIA and MI6, because they didn't like the fact that Mossadegh was nationalizing Iranian oil. And after they did a coup and they reinstalled the Shah, guess what? American companies owned 40% of Iranian oil. As soon as they wanted to privatize the oil, changes needed to be made. Yeah. So how do you counter that, right? So you think that the Ayatollah is good. Oh, you think that monarchies or theocracies in Iran are a great thing. No. However, I do not think that the United States has Iranian liberation on their to-do list for real. It's bullshit. And we have a long history of destabilizing this country. We talk about how Iran is a destabilizing force, but the reality is, for decades, we have directly and indirectly contributed to the destabilizing of this country.
Of mass murder. We will meet that threat now with our Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines, so that we do not have to meet it later with armies of firefighters and police and doctors on the streets of our cities. Now that conflict has come, the only way to limit its duration is to apply decisive force. And I assure you, this will not be a campaign of half measures, and we will accept no outcome but victory. My fellow citizens, the dangers to our country and the world will be overcome. We will pass through this time of peril and carry on the work of peace. We will defend our freedom.
How about Donald Trump in his tweet? Wait, will someone link it to me when he announced that they had bombed the three nuclear sites, and then he said, "Oh, hold on a second. Hello, I'm on stream. Hi, are you done? Okay. Okay. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Okay. All right. Love you. Bye. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yes, here it is. We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There's not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yes, now that we have bombed, also, I'm sorry, the bombs in all capital letters. A full payload of bombs. A full payload of bombs. Finally out of 10-minute follower jail just in time for the WW3 soft launch. Yay. You know what? It keeps people, you got to be dedicated. Either you're a dedicated hater and you wait 10 minutes to say something stupid, or you are a dedicated new member of the community and you wait 10 minutes to say hi. Yes. So Donald Trump announced that that he authorized these strikes, and now is the time for peace. Yeah. Do you think that Iran is like more likely to negotiate when they had been negotiating and then they were bombed and then they were bombed more and then they were told that it's because they refused diplomacy, that it's their problem, that they're the reason that they got bombed? Do you think that they're going to want to come back to this table that they're being told they left? Yeah. After one of their lead nuclear negotiators was murdered, somebody posted you singing to Annie about the Iran nukes, and I actually cried with laughter, so I followed Welcome in Bop City. Bombs, now is the time. Like, if you look at his statement, what's in caps is bombs, and now is the time for peace. Bombs, now is the time for peace. Like, those two things kind of seem to contradict each other. Bombs and peace. Here's his recent statement. Any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Does he think we don't know who he is? Like, does he say Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, in case we forgot? In case we forgot that Donald J. Trump is the President of the United States? God, he honestly... Yeah, also, is he thanking himself? Thank you, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Oh, yeah. So it's like, okay, Iran, we've bombed you. We've killed many more of your civilians. But if you retaliate, then we'll go even more ham on you. The only way that you go, yeah, hell yeah, brother, Iran, you're going down. That's right. The only way you believe that is if you believe that the United States is the world police, that whatever we say goes, that whatever we do is morally justified because we are the self-appointed arbiter of peace in this world. That's how you then swallow this and go, yep. That sounds good.
Congratulations.
Oh, God. Okay, wait. Let me finish this and then we'll.
We will bring freedom to others, and we will prevail. May God bless our country
Oh, God. Thank you,
and all
God.
who defend her.
Thank you, God. Isn't it funny how it's like, oh, okay, God is like out here on the US's side, right? God is speaking to Trump. God is saying, good job. But like God, that doesn't work. That no one else gets that. No one else is being blessed by God. The God is not speaking to anybody else. It's just this special connection that the U.S. and our presidents have. Now watch this drive. Okay, let's listen to this genocidal
President
fuck.
Trump, your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion,
See, listen to how they keep using these words righteous, right? They are invoking religious language, right? They are evoking this being a holy war of God being on the side of the U.S. and of Israel. Might is right. Religiosity. Yes, that's what you hear here.
Israel has done truly amazing things.
Viana Ernesto, thank you for the prime.
But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny.
It's done what no other country. We keep hearing this line too of like nobody else could do this. Maybe no one else would do this. Maybe we look at it differently, right? Instead of no one else could do this, oh, America is so strong and mighty, no one else could do this. Or maybe no one else would do this. Maybe this is something that tends to be an American thing because this is what America tends to do. It's not a matter of no one else could do this. It's no one else does this the way the U.S. and, of course, Israel do.
The world's most dangerous regime, the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace.
Yeah, because everyone's dead. Peace through strength, because we kill all of them, and then we have peace. That's how that works. Once everyone is dead, then you have peace. God, I know.
And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
Yeah, but it's just Iran. It's just Iran who is a danger because of the non-separation between church and state, because the church rules the state, which is why Iran, a theocracy, yes, is the most dangerous regime in the world. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Yeah, that's how everyone is dead, rolling on the floor, laughing. Oh, yeah, sorry. Some people will be left alive. But they'll be so damaged, their country will be so destabilized, they'll definitely lose family members and friends. But sorry, yeah, not every single person will die. So I guess I'm just being crazy here. Oh my God, she's so crazy. How could it be a genocide if not every single Palestinian is dead? Gotcha. The U.S. uses God like a community fleshlight only for the people they deem worthy. Yeah, no, God is thrown around. Iran, Trump. Now is the time for peace. God is thrown around to justify unnecessary violence all the time. Oh, God told me. Oh, I got God on speed dial, and he's telling me that I gotta do these things. Who am I to what am I supposed to do? Say, sorry, don't call me anymore. Lose my number, God. Saw you at the protest today. Thanks for... Oh, let's go. Just Tito, thank you for the 4 months. You should have come up, say hi. Seattle Green, thank you for the 2 months. God was used in the U.S. to United States of America to justify slavery and white supremacy. The God they worship is not the God of peace, justice, or liberation. Yeah, this God seems to be a real fucking asshole. A real asshole. Trump and Netanyahu like to say that about peace through strength all the time. So did Netanyahu's other heroes, the Nazis. Yeah, this might is right. Peace through strength. Hey, good luck. I liked your stream. Hey, I hope you realize what a silly thing it was to say that as long as Mamdani loses, it'll be okay. I hope instead that you recognize Zoran as a hope for a better future in not just New York, but in the US. He's a really cool dude. He's a real New Yorker, and he cares about New York. So I wish that I had a Zoran here in Los Angeles. And if he wins, that would be a bright spot in an otherwise very dark time right now. We would not be at this terrifying moment without Biden and his team. Absolutely. Emboldening Netanyahu beyond even Israelis' expectations in Gaza and Lebanon, abandoning hopes of a renewed nuclear deal, and fracturing their voting coalition, a team that promised stability brought huge danger. It is so important.
Saw you at the protest today. Thanks for showing up.
I love my delayed TTS. It is so important to remember that when it comes to our imperialism, our actions overseas, you know, the US empire and its effect globally, the Democrats and the Republicans are one and the same. You had Democrats mocking Trump because he wasn't going hard enough on Iran. You had Chuck Schumer being like, taco Trump. I remember when they were doing that, and it was in part because they were making fun of him for not going hard enough on Iran. You had Kamala Harris say that we need to have the most lethal military in the world because... What is this first time chat? Hey, chat. Why does this feel like, what are those fucking messages? What's that brand of message, that genre of message where it'll be emojis. It'll be like, hey, just got word that a certain thirsty, certain thirsty bad boy is dropping bombs and tea. Like, what is that? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yes. That kind of that kind of message that it'll be like, send this to 20 people or else you'll die. Hey chat, are we team USA or team Iran? Look at all these fucking emotes. Doritos chip? What? Yeah, those copy pastas. This, you know what, slow guy? Thank you for our newest copy pasta. Yes, it's the horny copy pastas. That's what I was talking about. Hi, I'm new here. I came from Mike from PA. What's up, Kimberly Boppity Boo? Kimberly Boppity Boo. Put them together, and what do you get? Bippity boppity, bippity boppity, bippity boppity boo. We're at war again. Hey, Caroline, I was in your chat early, and I was unfamiliar with the Adriana Smith case. Can you explain exactly what's controversial about the case? Okay, what's controversial about the case? So, a lot. Namely that Adriana Smith died in February. She died because when she went to the emergency room complaining of headaches and having other symptoms, the hospital dismissed her complaints. They did not run the test they should have, and she went home and she died. Turns out she had blood clots in her brain. So there is a history of misogyny, and specifically misogynoir, within the medical system. It is why black women are 4 times more likely to die in childbirth, even in this year of our Lord 2025, with the modern, all that modern medicine has to offer because of racism in the medical industry. Okay, so we start there. So she was brain dead because of the heartbeat law in Georgia. And this is a very draconian abortion law that a lot of red states have enacted. Heartbeat bills. Abortions are banned after a detectable fetal heartbeat is present, which is usually around 6 weeks of pregnancy. And remember that your cycle is around typically 4 weeks. So 6 weeks to find out that you're pregnant and then take care of that pregnancy is nothing, which is why it's essentially making abortion illegal. They just can't outright ban it. So they will do the most extreme version of a heartbeat bill, which is around 6 weeks. And most women won't even recognize that they're pregnant. So because of that bill in Georgia, the authorities and the hospital said to Adriana's family, we have to keep her on life support even though she is brain dead. She was dead. But they kept her on life support in order to keep the fetus inside of her alive. And her family, of course, was horrified because that is a horrifying thing. But they were like, there's nothing we can do. We will face consequences from the state if we don't. So this happened back in February. And a couple days ago, because Adriana Smith's body was starting to decay, they were like, okay, well, we got to cut this fetus out because her body is in decay. And the fetus, it was the size of a pound, which means that now that baby, which was born 1 pound, which was harvested from Adriana Smith's body, is going to most likely face a lifetime of health problems, potentially severe disabilities that, of course, the state is going to, state doesn't give a shit about a child like that. And it's so barbaric. It's so barbaric and horrifying. And it needs to be called what it is with it, which is a medical experiment. They were experimenting on her body to see, hey, can we do this? Can we keep this fetus alive inside a dead woman's body? And can we successfully extract it? Hi.
Gun?
Oh, yeah. Give me a gun. With the way things are going. Give me this.
I brought it for you.
Wow, thank you. Can you open this for me?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Adriana died at 8 weeks. The fetus was dissected at 25 weeks. Yeah. So it's controversial for a lot of reasons, as I just stated, but mostly I would say no. Sorry, I walked him early. Can you take him for a little walk again? Yeah. Sorry, I walked him twice today, but. Sorry, you guys. Mitch, thank you for the 26 months. My wife and I had to flee Ohio because of the heartbeat law. Our daughter had a birth defect, was never going to live outside the womb. Ohio would have forced us to carry to term and put her life at serious risk. Yeah. Yep. Because it's not pro-life, it's forced birth. Remember that. It's not pro-life. It is forced birth. Serena Williams is one of the biggest athletes, and even still, she had a horrific delivery that almost killed her because doctors and nurses wouldn't take her seriously. Misogyny is deadly. Yes. It doesn't matter how much money you have, like Serena. It doesn't matter, how notable you are. It is unfortunately something that still exists in our medical system. Is that a bug blaster? I don't know, but I just feel like, you know what? I'm going to add this. This is going to be in the background of my stream is just going to, my stream set is just going to be this gun. Hell yeah, brother. It's time to go liberate. It's time to go liberate the gays. All right, Will, thank you for the gun. Thank you very much. Oh, it came with glasses as well. Yeehaw, brother. 12 deep is drinks, y'all. Wait, Will, how many beers did you have? Are we able to watch the Iraq part of Fahrenheit 9/11? It has some pretty graphic stuff in it. I would probably have to do some gray TOS square. Okay. What was we were looking at this. Yes. Banning hopes of renewed nuclear deal, fracturing their voting coalition, a team that promised stability brought huge danger. Brett McGurk, Biden's Middle East whisperer, is seen by many of his former colleagues as essentially auditioning for a Trump admin job. Okay, for some reason this was deleted. Yeah, so we were talking about how, as far as the Democrats being different on war with Iran, no, because Biden demonstrated in his 4 years that he was not, and then Kamala, who ran, of course, after him, that they were not going to be like the seeking diplomacy instead of using the military if the occasion were to arise. I mean, here's Hakeem Jeffries. Like, we are hearing from some of the biggest Democrats right now when Trump is president. Okay, we're hearing from the Hakeem Jeffries, who is the minority leader of the House. Listen to his statement. This is what he says when the opposition is in power. Like, these people who supposedly are here to fight Donald Trump, to fight against what the Republicans are doing, love war so much, that even when Trump is president, they line up and they say this: Donald Trump promised to bring peace to the Middle East. He has failed to deliver on that promise. The risk of war has now dramatically increased. I pray for the safety of our troops in the region who have been put in harm's way. President Trump misled the country. Wait, actually, hold on. When did this post come out? This was 6:33 p.m. What's the other post that I'm thinking of? Wait. Was this Hakeem Jeffries? Jeffries on war with Iran. Okay, this was the one. Hold on. Let me first read this one. Leader Jeffrey's statement on recent developments in the Middle East. Iran is a sworn enemy of the United States and can never be permitted to become a nuclear capable power. Israel has a right to defend itself against escalating Iranian aggression, and our commitment to Israel's security remains ironclad. The authority to declare war belongs solely to the United States Congress. President Trump and his administration must refrain from engaging in offensive military action in Iran without the explicit approval of the House of Reps and the Senate. Aggressive diplomacy resulting in a longer and stronger agreement that permanently halts Iran's nuclear aspirations is the most appropriate course of action at this time. Like, this is our this is the opposition, dog. This is who's fighting against Trump. And then here's his most recent statement. President Trump misled the country about his intentions, failed to seek congressional authorization for the use of military force, and risked American entanglement in a potentially disastrous war in the Middle East. So how can you be talking about how Israel has the right to defend itself when Israel struck first, but then also be saying that this is a potentially disastrous war in the Middle East? What is it? First, the Trump administration bears the heavy burden of explaining to the American people why this military action was undertaken. Wow, okay, great, you got him. Second, Congress must be fully and immediately briefed in a classified setting. Third, Donald Trump shoulders complete and total responsibility for any adverse consequences that flow from his unilateral military action. So, are you against war? Like, this is the minority House leader? Where's the anti-war opposition? You know? I'm Hen. Thank you for the 6 months. So they're mad that Trump did not ask Congress. They're mad that Trump bypassed Congress in order to bomb Iran. Man, this is what's terrifying is like, yeah, we have individuals who are anti-war, but we do not have a strong oppositional anti-war party. And that's unfortunately the reality. We need an anti-war party to take power here. To, in this moment, seize it and show the Democrats and the Republicans as being united in their lust for war in the Middle East. Yeah. So, revolution when? When are we having that revolution?
Kwan give love.
When are we having it? Any day now, right? That's a Gemini-ass comment. Well, I'm a Libra. Get that Gemini-ass comment shit out of here. I'm a Libra. I want the scales balanced. I want justice. Or maybe they said that that was about somebody else. Look, as a Libra, I'm all about justice and I'm all about what's fair. I'm all about balance, equilibrium. What do you say to people who might aim fear and anxiety at you with, this is what you wanted, when folks like us weren't overjoyed at Kamala as the nominee and expressed that dislike? You're like, I don't remember wanting war. You say, actually, I've been consistent. I've been morally consistent with being anti-war and anti-genocide. What about you? Because it's bullshit, right? It's a way to place the blame. It's a way to place the blame for the Democrats' loss on people who are principled in being against war and being against genocide. And I'm sorry, but when you have somebody who's was vice president in the administration that oversaw the genocide for the first 15 months, and was the first president that did not pull back the leash on Israel, and got up at the DNC and talked about how we're going to have the most lethal military and that Iran is this, great destabilizing threat that we're going to take care of, blah, blah, blah. Then, people aren't excited to hear that, because if you are truly principled, if you are truly a person who is against all war, who is against genocide, then no, you weren't going to be excited about Kamala Harris. So when they say this is what you wanted, you say, no, what I wanted was an end to the genocide. What I wanted was no more war in the Middle East. Thank you for that response. I know myself and many others are going through it in our private lives right now. Yeah, you just go, no, I've never changed on the things that I wanted. What do you want? What do you stand for? Is politics just team sports to you? That you vote blue no matter who? That you actually don't stand for anything aside from like beating the drum for a political party? You know what it is? It reveals a person who's actually principled and someone who stands for nothing. Iraq 2003 versus Iran 2025. The U.S. invaded Iraq over alleged weapons of mass destruction versus Israel attacked Iran over its nuclear program. In 2003, former U.S. President George W. Bush announced the U.S. would invade Iraq, dubbed Operation Iraqi Freedom. He said the mission would destroy what his administration called weapons of mass destruction.
At this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war.
As inspectors and analysts had warned, no weapons of mass destruction were ever found in Iraq. Now, as Bush did in 2003, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has cast Israel's attack on Iran's nuclear facilities as necessary for both Israel's self-defense
Tonight,
and
I wish
Iran's
to speak
freedom.
to you, the proud people of Iran. We're in the midst of one of the greatest military operations in history, Operation Rising Lion. The Islamic regime, which has oppressed you for nearly 50 years, threatens to destroy my country, the State of Israel. The objective of Israel's military operation is to remove this threat, both the nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat to Israel. And as we achieve our objectives, we're also clearing the path for you to achieve your objective, which is freedom.
All about freedom. They hate us because of our freedom. And we're gonna free them because we're free and they should be free. And so we're gonna free them. Gotta revisit this scene from Vice one more time.
Dick, we've been working with these focus groups and advertising executives to try and sell the war on terror.
I'll reiterate, we are still being recorded, and there still may or may not be clients back behind the two-way.
These guys are pretty sharp. Go on.
There's a problem. The results show that people are confused.
You all support the president. You hate terrorism, yet you're still confused. Can you tell me why?
Has Iran put out a statement?
Anybody?
If anyone's seen anything, you post it.
Don't we have to just get Osama bin Laden? He did it. So why are they calling it a war? A war with who?
Okay, thank you, Mark. Jasmine, jump in, please.
I don't get what this Al-Qaeda is. Are they a country? Like, why can't we just bomb them?
That's really interesting.
So, like, what's Al-Qaeda, and can't we just bomb them?
Is anybody else confused about what Al-Qaeda is? Show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4.
In 2002,
5, 6,
the
7.
Pentagon oversaw focus groups run by top-level PR execs like Tori Clark, author of the book Lipstick on a Pig, winning in the no-spin era.
That's a lot of you.
This is a very accurate focus group.
Right? Would it be less confusing if it was a country?
Damn right. I'm angry as hell. We've got to fuck someone up.
Got it. Mark, there's really strong feelings coming from Mark. I'm interested. Does anybody else feel the same or agree?
They understand we're at war, but they don't know against who.
They want a country. It's cleaner, simpler.
I would certainly.
Like, are we just going to get another Oscar-winning film, 20 years from now, 15 years from now? It'll probably star Christian Bale again. And it'll be about selling war in Iran. Is this just what it's going to be? That's just how it goes. We go to war in the Middle East, and then 15 years later, we put out a film that wins Oscars. At least we get something out of it. You know what? So true. At least we get a great film out of it. You know?
Help us legally.
Well, looks like it's time to take a rack.
Time to take a wreck.
It is about goddamn time.
Are you saying Big Hollywood's behind the
It's
wars?
called
Now that's
Office
interesting.
of Special Plans. Tenet is not yet serious enough without the threat that Saddam poses, a global war on terror. But I can promise you that this intelligence group will be.
Wolfie, I got something.
Transmissions. If there's a donkey with a radio up its ass, I want to know what it's transmitting.
I think that's an excellent idea. We want to take that motherfucker Saddam down for a long time.
Here's a report that says Mohammed Atta, one of the 9/11 hijackers, may have met with an Iraqi spy in Prague.
It's a really strong statement. Does anybody agree with that statement?
Wait a minute, we can't just bomb people.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
It's from Czech intelligence.
Oh,
and
wait,
they
hold on a
question its
second.
credibility.
I've been to Prague. They question everything.
Who wants to be an anonymous source?
Make sure you work in the phrase, we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud. That focus group through the roof.
There will always be uncertainty about when he will acquire nuclear weapons. But we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.
There is a smoking gun or a mushroom cloud. We have waited too long.
There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction.
We got to get rid of this dictator. He's got anthrax. He's got all these weapons.
There is no doubt.
Are we going to get another anthrax scare? They're going to be like, Iran's doing anthrax attacks in the U.S.
Asking them to use
Sleeper
them against
cells.
our friends, against our allies, and against us.
When, and not if, but when Saddam
creates and uses nuclear weapons,
cyber attacks
what will
now.
we tell
You're
the
right.
American people?
Saddam Hussein will continue to increase his capacity to wage biological and chemical warfare.
Hello? There's my girl.
To show that we will stand up for what we know to be right. To show that we will confront the tyrannies and dictatorships and terrorists who put our way of life at risk.
Winning a second UN resolution authorizing war against Iraq. So
The
tonight,
troubled world
we'll go on
and the
that.
hopes of an oppressed people.
Tribe has spoken.
Polling for an invasion of Iraq is at 53%. Focus groups show people still aren't sure about a connection between Saddam and Al-Qaeda.
They're like, wait, hold on a second. We thought it was bin Laden. Isn't that what you guys told us in the beginning? That bin Laden and Al-Qaeda were the ones behind the attacks? But now you're saying that we got to go to war in Iraq because of Saddam Hussein? Wait a minute. Yeah, that's something that I think people forget is like right before the invasion, the American public was not like full-throatedly supporting going into war in the Middle East. There were plenty of people who, I mean, look, the country was still reeling after 9/11. Islamophobia was alive and well. There was no shortage of like, yeah, well, I know there's terrorists over there, but I just don't know if I support this war. And that's why they had to get those numbers up. Now they don't give a shit. They're like, oh, the public doesn't want this. We don't care. Truly, they don't. Public polling showing that people prefer diplomatic solutions with Iran, even when they fully believe that, like, yeah, Iran is evil and they have nuclear powers. We still want diplomatic. Like, even if you believe that Iran has nukes, people in the U.S. still prefer diplomatic solutions over military ones. Caroline, seeing your stream today as a resident of the area made me feel less alone. Thank you so very much for that. You're so very welcome. As someone, is it strange that I live in Puerto Rico and I feel scared because of the things that are happening? No, the ICE is in Puerto Rico demanding to see people's papers. So no, it absolutely makes sense. You know, whether it's Iran or it's ICE or whatever. I've been trying to describe how this felt back then to younger people now, and yeah, it's not really comparable. There's no consent manufactured this time. Americans weren't mad about Iraq broadly until Americans started returning home dead. Yeah, so people were like split, and then they pushed heavily pushed this public campaign to convince people that this is a good thing. So we invaded Iraq, and then public opinion went up, like approval went up. People were like, okay. But then as time went on, as Americans started coming back in coffins, as they started seeing the enormous death toll of Iraqi civilians, as it started to come out that, U.S. government was
to push this over the finish line?
Carl, I have been very vocal about my reservations about invading Iraq.
No, Colin, you're such a nervous Nelly.
We are talking about invading a sovereign nation without any provocation, Don. It is a sovereign nation, Don.
You're wrong.
What's the exit strategy? What about the intelligence? Does the intelligence matter to you at all?
Please,
you break it, you bought it. You break it, you bought it.
Hey, all right. Let's slow down. Enough of that, guys.
You will. You're gonna take Saddam down or not. You are the president.
Yeah, okay. Like, here is from August 2002. Israel signaled its decision yesterday to put public pressure on President George Bush to go ahead with the military attack on Iraq, even though it believes Saddam may well retaliate by striking Israel. With foreign policy experts in Washington becoming increasingly critical of the wisdom of a military strike and European governments showing no willingness to support an attack, the Israeli Prime Minister, Ariel Sharon, wants to make it clear that he is the U.S. president's most reliable ally. Any postponement of an attack on Iraq at this stage will serve no purpose, a senior Sharon advisor, Raanan Gissin, told the Associated Press yesterday. It will only give Saddam more of an opportunity to accelerate his program of weapons of mass destruction. Israeli intelligence officials had new evidence that Iraq was speeding up efforts to produce biological and chemical weapons. Last night, Mr. Bush, speaking in Crawford, Texas, said he would consult with others on U.S. policy on Iraq, but would make his decisions based on the latest intelligence. Oh, intelligence that certainly was not intelligence full of lies. Mr. Gissin's statement appears to mark a change of tactic by the Israeli Prime Minister as he sees Mr. Bush coming under pressure to back away from an attack on Iraq. Earlier this week, Mr. Sharon told the Knesset's Foreign Affairs Committee that Iraq was Israel's greatest danger, but Israel was not pressing for an attack. Isn't that funny that seems to be what they tried to have as the narrative until Trump was like, no, I did it. I did the big, beautiful attack on Iran. But this time with Iran, it's Iran is Israel's greatest threat, and the U.S. was not pressing for an attack, where they just kind of switch things around, right? Where they'll go, look, we're going to play things smart here. We're obviously, we're sharing intelligence and we're swapping notes and we're supporting one another, but just for political purposes, depends on who we are attacking. Either the U.S. has to lead on it or Israel has to lead on it. Remember the anthrax scare? I sure do. Israel has told the U.S. that if Iraq strikes Israel with missiles, it will counterattack. During the Gulf War in 1991, when the U.S. managed to get an Arab coalition lined up against Iraq, Israel gave into American pressure and held back from any military action, even though Iraq hit Israel with 39 Scud missiles. Hi, none had chemical. Oh, hey, what's up?
Hi, Caroline.
How are ya?
I'm gonna take them to get some
good
food.
to see you. Okay.
And then if you want to go to that movie at 10, you can. If you don't.
No, I do want to go. I
No
do
worries.
want to go.
Hi, Caroliners.
Hi, Caroline.
The Kwan Taraj.
Hello. Nice to see you guys. We got Poke and Gigi in the house, y'all.
This room is cool.
Thanks for letting us stay.
Do you want me to bring any food back?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Thanks.
All right, let's feed these.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm just gonna stream for like another hour, probs.
I'll see you soon.
All right. What they think about us striking Iran. You know what? I'm just gonna ask everybody that question now. I'm like, hey, what you think? What do you think about this? Okay. Anyway, we are still watching the scene in Vice, selling war in Iraq. DB Cyclops, thank you for the 31 months.
War is yours. But, UN and some coalition do not share powers that are yours alone.
George, make sure Pal sees the intelligence.
Sir.
Colin, I want you to make that speech. I'm president. I want this to happen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I look forward to being briefed on that intelligence.
On another note, I've been handed a credible report of a small terrorist enclave in northeastern Iraq. If we're gonna invade, we suggest taking it out before.
Let it go, George. We have bigger fish to fry.
Let me see that intelligence.
Of course.
That classified document described a terrorist named Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, who had started as a drug dealer and pimp before becoming fully radicalized in a Jordanian prison. Zarqawi went to meet bin Laden in Afghanistan.
Did he or did he not meet with Al-Qaeda?
But Zarqawi had vowed to kill all Shia Muslims, and bin Laden's mother was Shia. So the meeting didn't go over well.
They had no operational contact.
Hogwash.
Larry, have you seen this speech?
Yes, sir. It's bone thin. I saw at least 5 pieces of disproved intel in there.
Who wrote it?
Yeah, they said it was the president, but I think you can guess who really wrote
That's
it.
Sam fucking Rockwell. Great cast.
Yeah, well, we reviewed the speech. We gave some notes.
Pal really doesn't have a clue, does he?
After the U.S. invaded Afghanistan, Zarqawi set up shop in Iraq. It was the only connection Cheney had between Al-Qaeda and Iraq.
The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I call now on the distinguished Secretary of State of the United States of America, His Excellency, Mr. Colin Powell.
My purpose here today is to share with you what the United States knows about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, as well as Iraq's involvement in terrorism. Iraq today harbors a deadly terrorist network headed by Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, an associate and collaborator.
Powell's UN address was seen by millions of Americans, but other people were watching as well.
Collaborator of Osama bin Laden and his Al-Qaeda lieutenants. Zarqawi's activities are not...
The great general of America saying his name over and over again immediately made Zarqawi a star.
Staying in the capital of Iraq before...
Allahu Akbar!
Within a day, he had gone into hiding.
Al-Qaeda, but these denials are simply not credible. They are simply...
You know what? Fuck Colin Powell, okay? Fuck Colin Powell, because Colin Powell, years later, he tried to do revisionist history. He tried to say that, you know, he regretted his role in the Iraq War, but he didn't know, like, he claims that he didn't lie because he didn't know that it was not true. He's like, look, I was just Secretary of State. I wasn't the Director of Intelligence. And he you know, he died. He died never being truthful, of course, about his role in the Iraq War. Colin Powell lied and people died. And then years later, he died. And he rebuilt his reputation. Like, that's what's so fucked about it all. Colin Powell, Condi Rice, all of these major players in the Bush administration, George Bush, the rehabilitation, the reputation rebuilding is truly vile. Like, it is truly, truly vile. And Colin Powell tried to be like, oh, it was so painful. It's painful that, like, I was a part of this, but I didn't know. I didn't know when I testified, when I gave that presentation in front of the UN, that the information was false. Like, I lied, but I didn't mean to. Colin Powell became famous after his actions in Vietnam, which was all based on lying. He's a very crooked man. Yes, and he tried to well, not even tried. He was successful in rehabilitating his image. Meme for you? Okay, hold on.
Not credible. An Al-Qaeda source tells us that Saddam and bin Laden reached an understanding that Al-Qaeda would no longer support activities against Baghdad.
By the time we invaded Iraq, 70% of Americans thought that Saddam Hussein was involved in 9/11.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by, at first, the American public was like, nah, I don't know about this. I thought it was bin Laden. I thought it was Al-Qaeda. I thought that's who we're going after. What's all this about Saddam Hussein and Iraq? What about that? And then they went on, they engaged in a massive campaign to trick the public, and by the time they invaded Iraq, the approval of, the public approval was up to 70%, and people were enthusiastic about it at first, and then, as I said, when the atrocities wore on, when U.S. military soldiers came home in caskets, when they saw pictures of cities and towns in Iraq being blown to bits, dead children, the cost of the war going up and up and up in both dollars and human lives, people started to turn. And then, investigative reporting started to reveal that the intelligence was a lie, blah, blah, blah. Powell got his start covering up the My Lai massacre in Vietnam. Yes. One of the great American military atrocities that was then covered up. Okay, wait, what is this?
It is heartbreaking to see the images coming out of Tel Aviv. People having to put down their daiquiris and pina coladas and run to underground bunkers all around the city. Some apartment complexes were hit. I don't know what you guys did to deserve it, but I feel really bad for you.
Who is this guy?
And my heart goes out to the people in Israel. It is heartbreaking to see the images.
Who is this guy? The U.S. consistently, since its inception, has manufactured consent for devastating one-sided violence. You know what's frustrating? Eminent professed thanks for the tier one. It's so frustrating, the detractors who will be like, oh, yeah, so you hate the U.S. Then why don't you leave it? Oh, so I guess your only politics are America bad. And it's like, okay, my question is, do you acknowledge the harms, the global harms that the U.S. empire has caused? Or do you think that or do you just think that that's not true, or that it's justified? Like, you think that the amount of civilians that have died at the hands of the U.S. empire, the, number of coups that the CIA has orchestrated, the dictators that we have installed, the democracies that we have destroyed, do you just not think those things are true? Or do you think that that's just like you can justify it somehow? And it's also like, man, I'm so tired of this. Oh, wow, you hate the United States so much, then why don't you leave? It's like, this is my home. But therefore, as an American, I feel an extra responsibility for calling out the crimes of the United States empire. Like, as an American whose tax dollars goes to bombing children in the Middle East, yeah, I'm going to say enough is enough. These are my tax dollars. This is my government. This is my country that's doing this. We fight in the U.S. to make this country a better place for the people who live here, but also for the people around the globe, for those who only know the destruction that the U.S. empire has caused in their homelands. that people have to come to the U.S. because their countries have been so destabilized because of the U.S. So yeah, I do feel a responsibility. No, I'm not going to leave the United States because this is my home, but I'm going to try and do everything to make it better for those who live here and for those who live in other countries that are constantly suffering because of the empire, because of my government.
Up to 30 million people.
Okay, this is an old Democracy Now! Video. This is, there was a documentary that came out, We Are Many Global, We Are Many. This was showing the protests that took place in 2003, protesting the Iraq War. And man, it's like, here we are again.
Nearly 800 cities. Those are the numbers that made the February 15, 2003 global protests against the looming U.S. invasion of Iraq the largest in history. And while the first U.S. bombs would hit Baghdad weeks later, a new documentary argues that the protests weren't just a one-day historical feat, but a spark that changed the world forever. The film is called We Are Many.
The institutions of the British state had set out to tell lies.
It's the biggest demonstration coordinated in history of the whole Earth.
It was off the hook.
Something began on that day that cannot be reversed.
A mass, beautiful movement that's going to stop them from dropping those bombs.
We had something like 60% of the American people believing that Saddam Hussein was connected with 9/11.
They blatantly lied to all of us.
The rallies of February 15th followed the sun.
It was Australia, it was Sydney.
North Asia and South Asia, Africa, into Europe.
And then we had London.
I thought I was on the wrong march because there were all these families. Virtually everybody I know was on it.
The whole of my family went on it.
It was so beautiful.
This was the future of humanity.
They can't hold us back! Bush, you can't hold us back!
Fellow Americans, let's roll.
Wait, Javier Bardem spotted. I told you, that guy, he has been on his activism for decades.
This bastard is actually going to take us to war.
The American people do not want this!
It was over.
Back up! Back up! Back up!
Our victory, not theirs.
Get evil.
These were lies. They can take their medals back.
That's when hell broke loose in Egypt.
If you keep coming back, at some point you will make the change.
That's the trailer for We Are Many, a new documentary on the historic February 15, 2003 rallies against the Iraq War that rocked the globe. The film tells the story of that historic day of protest, how it's helped shape political movements around the world since, and we're joined by the film's
Can we watch this doc sometime? I don't know if it's available free online.
director, Amir Amirani. Welcome to Democracy Now! Congratulations on this film.
Talk
Talk about the significance of that day, why we care in 2015 about what happened in 2003. After all, soon after the
And
US.
why do we care in 2025 about what happened in 2003?
And Britain did bomb Iraq.
Yes, they did bomb Iraq, and we are now still living with the consequences of that. So whilst at the time it looked like it had failed, ostensibly it could have been seen as a heroic failure, for me it seemed like a historic event and a story that was worth telling for posterity. And as we see now, with all the recent revelations about the emails between George Bush and Tony Blair and so on, what's happening in Syria, in Blair's own words, they were partly to blame, if not entirely to blame. So we are still living with the consequences of what people warned would happen in 2003.
And what made you decide to make the film in the first place?
Well, I was a filmmaker working largely for the BBC and Channel 4 in London. in February 2003, I happened to be at the Berlin Film Festival, and I knew this thing was going to happen. And I felt I had to go on it. It was, now looking back, it was the first political act I had ever, taken part in. When I get back to London and I discovered how big it was there, it got me thinking. It's happened in London. It's happened in...
Yeah, and just an FYI, the U.S. fired so much depleted uranium on civilians that babies are still being born with birth defects today. So not only did we accuse them of having weapons of mass destruction that they did not have, but we dropped horrifying weapons on top of them. We dropped depleted uranium weapons on civilians, which means still 20 years later, babies are being born with severe birth defects. But yeah, blowing up nuclear sites is going to free the people of Iran.
Berlin, where else has it happened? And then I saw that it was this extraordinary, historic event. And then the filmmaking part of my head kicked in and said, something like this doesn't just happen. And if it's happened, it potentially means something. And even though I didn't know what that was or what it would portend, we can now see that we've lived through a decade of protests.
Let's go to a few clips in the film. This is Colin Powell's former chief of staff, Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. He gives a brutally honest assessment of the U.S. government's culpability for the Iraq War. This is really amazing what Lawrence Wilkerson goes on to say when he said he was with...
Yeah, we can still do it. Hello? It's not too late, okay? Those fuckers are still alive, so it's not too late to try them as war criminal. Oh, actually, Donald Rumsfeld's dead. Fine, we'll try him in hell. God, I hope there's a hell. I hope that war is war and hell is hell. and all the people who go to hell are just burning for eternity.
Secretary of State Colin Powell at the UN, February 3rd, 2003, when he gave that push for war at the UN, saying absolute evidence of weapons of mass destruction. Over his shoulder is George Tenet, the head of the CIA, in full view. Yeah. He says it's the worst moment of his life.
And he says it was the worst moment of his life, that he wished he had resigned. And he says that actually they perpetrated a hoax on the UN, on the international community, and on the American people. And this is exactly what happened. People warned about that, and it's been proven to be the case. It's an extraordinary firecracker of an interview. And I think and hope that when it's seen in America, that it might get the kind of reaction and get people who might have had another kind of view change their view about that time.
And this is another clip of British and French lawyer Philip Sands, author of the book Lawless World and Torture Team, Rumsfeld's Memo and the Betrayal of American Values, in another clip from the film. That was Philip Sands. Your comments, we have about 30 seconds on this particular clip.
Well, that shows exactly the kind of dynamic that was going on. Essentially, they didn't want to hear the facts. It remains to be seen why the decision was changed about the legality of the war. And Tony Blair recently came out with this so-called non-apology apology to try and, essentially avert this kind of news.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation and post it online at democracynow.org.
This is mask off Islamophobia.
Very recently, I think progressives underestimate how dangerous Iran is. Iran is not a normal country. Normal countries don't blind women because they showed some hair. They don't empower little gangs and proxies to surround a country and fire rockets and rape people. So Iran, the two things are clear. The what, they cannot have a bomb, and the what.
Man, I mean, honestly, of course it's this guy. Yeah. You know, Van Jones, meanwhile, what just happened to a black woman in Georgia? Do you have anything to say about that? Is that something a normal country does? A normal country that, has states where even if a child is raped by her father, she still has to carry the baby? It doesn't matter because you passed the limit on when you can have an abortion. Normal countries don't keep a brain dead woman on life support to deliver a baby.
Why? Because they say death to America, death to Israel, and death to all the Jews. One of those should offend you if you're progressives. At least one should offend you. And so the question, though, is the who and the how. Is Israel going to take out this nuclear capacity by dropping people there who blow it up? Or is America going to take it out by dropping a bomb that blows it up? But the what and the why are clear, and I think progressives should get on board with that. We cannot have a nuclear-armed Iran. I was in the region. You were in the region. This is a very dangerous power that cannot get a nuclear weapon.
You are 100% right and wrong at the same time. Yes, about the bullshit abortion rights. Wrong about allowing Iran obtaining nuclear power. Okay. Iran, as determined per Tulsi Gabbard, who testified to this. Tulsi Gabbard, who is the director of... Tulsi Gabbard is the director of national intelligence, in March said that Iran was not building nuclear weapons. So, Iran, as the United States National Security Intelligence testified to, was not building nuclear weapons. But let me ask you a question. Why is it that Iran should not have nuclear power, but it's okay for Israel to? It's okay for America to? What's the answer? Because I look at what Israel's been doing in the Middle East and I go, nope, I don't think they should have nukes. And I look at the fact that the United States is the only nation to ever use nukes on a civilian population. I go, why the fuck does the U.S. get nukes? So if your answer is no one should have nukes, then okay, I agree with you. But if you're like, well, no, it's okay for those other places to, these other states to have nukes, but not for Iran to, even though the reason they're bombing Iran is because they don't have nukes. Do you understand that? Do you understand that if Iraq had actually had weapons of mass destruction, the U.S. would not have invaded them? That it would have been a deterrent. It would have protected them. Do you understand that that's why North Korea got nukes and has held on to those nukes? Permission to hit the bong, Basie? Yes, Deanie. They were not following guidelines. Yes, they were. What are you talking about? Do you know that when Donald Trump ripped up the Iran nuclear deal in 2018 and put on even harsher economic sanctions, do you know that Iran was still complying with the IAEA? That they were still allowing nuclear inspections of their nuclear program? That they were still not building weapons? That they were not close to a nuke, even after the deal had been ripped up and sanctions had been put back on them? When you say things like they were not following guidelines, it's because that is what the U.S. State Department, that is what the media and politicians who want war with Iran are telling you.
He's buying himself some time in some room. I was also in the Holy Land very recently.
But if you are a nation that either wants sovereignty or wants to make sure that you hold on to it, then in this day and age, you better have nukes. I don't like living in a world where that's the case. Let me be clear. But that is the case, that you got to have nukes. And when you get nukes, you hang on to those nukes. You don't let them go, because then you lose your card. You have nothing.
Recently, I think progressives.
Oh, this is just sorry, that's just replaying again. Here.
First,
let's listen to Chomsky as he answers the question, is Iran a threat?
thank you so much for coming. I've learned a lot listening to what you shared with us. My question is specifically about Iran and the nuclear weapons and the discussion that you were having with regard to Iran and the international community. I definitely understand the idea of a country obtaining a nuclear weapon or developing one themselves out of a form of protection, or to be on the same, I guess, international status as other countries who are considered superpowers or on the same level as a superpower because they themselves have nuclear weapons. But what do you do when a country is openly trying to develop one or obtain one, and also openly threatening to wipe out a country?
Also, if you want to make sure that I get nukes, please subscribe to the stream. If you have a Prime sub, you get one free sub a month. If you are lucky, you can get gifted a sub, but that way you can ensure that I, Caroline Kwan, can have nukes so that I am a powerful streamer in the space and that I can hang on to my nukes. Jose, thank you for the Prime. Thank you for supporting Caroline Kwan's obtaining of nukes. One sub equals one nuke. One sub equals one nuke. That's right, folks. Hyperspace Fool, thank you for the Prime. This is your daily Prime reminder. If you're holding on to those Primes, then you are keeping me from holding on to my nukes. I heard Caroline's hiding her nukes in Farley's wheat pile. I don't know. Yeah, 10K subs. Okay, 3K subs, we fight Radon. 10K subs, I join the LAPD. 20K subs, I finally get my first nuke. With just one sub, you too can provide these poor streamers with nukes for a day. That's right. I have a right to defend myself, and there's a lot of people out there who would come for me. So, I need my nukes. I gotta have more nukes. We will become a nuclear power in this community. That's right. One sub equals 1% of enriched uranium. One sub equals 1% of enriched uranium. Moodside Boop, thank you for the 19 months.
And claiming that a country shouldn't exist. I mean, those are two really big issues that we're dealing with, and I didn't really think you addressed that, and I was curious what you had to say.
Well, what do you do about countries that already developed nuclear weapons outside the framework of the Non-Proliferation Treaty and are daily violating resolutions of the Security Council and the International Atomic Energy Agency? I mean, that's the much more serious problem.
Okay, this is what you should be saying to every single person who's like, well, Iran can't have nukes. First of all, you go, Iran doesn't have nukes. They weren't building nukes. They weren't close to nukes. Even if they were to go, we're going to build a nuke right now, the consensus is it would take 3 years to have a nuclear arsenal, okay? But what you need to say is exactly what he's saying here. And who he's talking about is Israel. Where he goes, does it not worry you that Israel for decades has hidden the fact that they have nukes, even though it's the worst kept secret? Everybody knows Israel has nukes. The U.S. official policy is just, we don't confirm nor deny. That's how it goes. We know Israel has nukes, and they are not a part of the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty. So that means that they're not adhering to what other nuclear armed states have to adhere to. And they also refuse inspections by the IAEA. Does that not make you go, yeah, actually, that's not good. That's not good. Unless you are an avid supporter, a diehard supporter of Israel, where you go, no, I don't care if they give Israel all the nukes and let them nuke everybody. Yeah, hell yeah. If they admitted to it, American law says they can't continue to send aid. Right. Because what Israel is doing is illegal. They are not adhering to international treaties, to guidelines.
But that's a different situation because those countries aren't openly threatening to wipe out another country.
Nor is Iran. Just take a look.
Okay, yeah, so that's the other argument that's used. Well, Israel doesn't threaten to... Really? Israel doesn't threaten to wipe out a population of people, especially ones that don't have sovereignty. How about that? As this war has escalated between Israel and Iran, you know who is caught helpless as they have been for 2 years, for 8 decades? The Palestinian people. Israel is killing like 50 to 200 Palestinians a day. They're killing people who are at aid sites trying to get flour. There's a little kid. I watched a segment on him today where he said, I have to eat sand. I spent 8 hours trying to get flour, and then it was stolen because people are so desperate. And he said, this child said, all I have is sand to eat.
Look at the statements. The statements are that they don't think, they said actually it goes back to Khomeini at the time of the U.S.-Iranian alliance, the Israeli-Iranian alliance, and Israel didn't care about it then. And it keeps being repeated. The statement is that, in the course of time, Israel should no longer exist. Well, actually, I happen to agree with that too. In fact, so do a lot of people in Israel, the ones who think there should be a single democratic state. That's not calling for wiping anyone out. In fact, Iran has supported the international consensus on the two-state settlement. Actually, there are 2 countries that are not only calling for some nation not to exist, but are destroying it, namely the U.S. and Israel. That's their position with regard to the Palestinians. And they're not just saying it. I stress, they're not just saying it, they're doing it day by day. That's the meaning of the policies that are going on right before our eyes in Gaza and the West Bank, which we are supporting and paying for. So sure, you shouldn't call for the destruction of another nation, and you shouldn't implement that. Actually, the official position of Israel, backed by the United States, they've slightly modified it, but back about 20 years ago, their official position, the coalition government, Labor, Likud, was that there cannot be, I'm quoting it, an additional Palestinian state between Jordan and Israel. In other words, they declared, and the U.S. supported that there already is a Palestinian state, namely Jordan. I mean, the Palestinians object. They say, no, wait a minute, that's not our state. But who cares about them? We say that's your state, and there can't be an additional one. Well, that goes well beyond calling for the destruction of another country. I mean, it's analogous to saying that if somebody came along, suppose Ahmadinejad said, Jews don't need Israel because they already have New York. Okay? I mean, we'd call that a revival of Nazism. But that's has been the official U.S.-Israeli position. So there's a lot to be, incidentally, about Iran. Nobody in their right mind wants Iran to have nuclear weapons, or anyone else. But it is and it's a horrible regime, undoubtedly, though there are worse ones in the region, which are our allies. Everyone, and I'm not referring to Israel, I'm referring to the other Arab states. I mean, in comparison with Saudi Arabia, Iran looks like a civil rights paradise. But it's awful, no doubt. And there's a way to deal with it. Like, for example, moving towards a nuclear weapons-free zone. But among strategic analysts, including Israeli ones, there's no real question about why Iran is moving to nuclear weapons capability, which is not the same as having nuclear weapons. It's just being at a point where you could have them. Like most of the advanced industrial world is in that position. Japan, Italy, all sorts of countries. The reason is very simple. Actually, it was described by one of Israel's leading military analysts, very hawkish, Martin von Crefeld, a couple of years ago. After the invasion of Iraq, he wrote an article in which he said he doesn't know if Iran is developing nuclear weapons, and he hopes not, but he says if they're not developing nuclear weapons, they are crazy. That was his word. They're not developing them, they're crazy. The United States has just announced we're going to attack anybody we feel like and invade you if we can do it with impunity. So you better have a deterrent. Well,
right there, okay? That's what I'm talking about, where if you don't have nukes, well, you'd be crazy not to have them, because you will get invaded. You will get bombed. You will have nuclear armed states that seize on the opportunity because you don't have nukes. Look, since Israel has nukes, Iran has to have nukes then. If Israel does not have nukes, then I cannot say it enough. I wish nobody had nukes. But in order to have this, in order to have a deterrent, you got to have nukes then.
Maybe they're developing a deterrent. No serious analyst thinks that they could use nuclear weapons. I mean, if Iran had nuclear weapons and missiles, which nobody sane wants them to have, I mean, if they went as far as even loading a missile, the country would be vaporized instantly, even if there was any suspicion of it. Well, the clerics may be hideous people, but they've shown no particular inclination for suicide and destruction of everything that they own and everything they value. Same is true about leaking nuclear weapons to others. If there was any suspicion that they were doing
that's the thing too. Like, if Iran were to get nukes, Iran would not come close to having the nuclear might that the U.S. has. So the second that they load up one of their nukes and are like, okay, game on, it's over. Like, all of Iran is going to be vaporized. So you have to believe that Iran is so willing to destroy their entire country and like let everybody be vaporized who lives in Iran and the surrounding borders, because even if Iran were to have nuclear weapons, it would be like not near the strength of what the US has, or even what Israel has. What's movie night pick tomorrow? Vice or Oppenheimer? Yeah, right.
You can say goodbye to Iran. So chances they're using it are, probably at the level of an asteroid hitting the Earth or something like that. But it's a serious problem. In fact, if you look at the Israeli literature, they're pretty straight about it. They say that the real threat of an Iranian nuclear weapon is not against Israel, but it's against Zionism. That is, what they're afraid of is that if the region becomes too dangerous, people in Israel are just going to leave. People who have the capacity to, more educated, wealthier, and so on, because they won't want to live in a region with that threat. And in fact, emigration is a pretty serious problem. Emigration of the educated and the trained, educated sectors. So they don't want to face that threat. But I don't think any serious strategic analyst, at least I've never seen one, who thinks that there's the threat that Iran might use a nuclear weapon. I mean, it would total suicide.
I believe the last time Iran went to war was 250 years ago. To think that they would be the aggressor and on the defense is wild. Thank you for speaking of always. Yeah, I think a little clarification there. As far, I think more so it'd be Iran starting a war, which I guess doesn't include them retaliating or fighting via proxy groups. Iran has been at war, but yeah, Iran is not a state that is like consistently the aggressor, right? Is not the one that is always starting wars. They've been involved in ongoing proxy wars. Of course, they were at war with Iraq, but Iraq did invade Iran. So yeah, I mean I understand your point there to like the ridiculousness of when you compare Israel to Iran as to who is militarily more of the aggressor. And it's Israel.
Thank you.
All right, here's a piece in Zeteo News. These 10 people were wrong about Iraq. You shouldn't listen to them about Iran either. Benjamin Netanyahu, number 1. In 2002, he urged U.S. politicians to invade Iraq. If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. We've watched that clip a couple times. As always is the case with Washington, Netanyahu got his wish. And we saw the consequences. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, up to 1 million. It's the exact number is not known. And thousands of U.S. soldiers killed to the tune of trillions in U.S. tax dollars spent. Netanyahu was helped by some of the most overconfident, bloodthirsty, and prominent figures in American public life, doing everything they could to make sure that American taxes funded a devastating war premised entirely on lies. That Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, that the U.S. needed to pursue regime change to win the so-called war on terror, and that doing so would promote democracy in the Middle East. And now, after Israel's Trump-backed bombing of Iran, the gang is all back. Yeah, so don't listen to Benjamin Netanyahu. If you didn't already figure that one out, this guy has been wanting to go to war against Iran as long as I have been alive. He has been desperately trying to get the U.S. to side with him in going to war against Iran for decades. Okay, Newt. Oh, Newt. Newt Gingrich. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich was straightforward decades ago. Repeatedly after 9/11, he insisted that the U.S. must replace Saddam. And this week, he's beating the same drum, calling for regime change in Iran. If there were the justice in this world that we all deserve, these motherfuckers would not only not be allowed to repeat the same lies and propaganda that they have been saying for decades, but they would all be in The Hague, okay? They would all be held criminally liable for the roles that they play in the death and destruction of areas and populations around this world. Here's what he wrote just this week. The replacement of the theocratic dictatorship in Iran with a secular government committed to peace with neighbors, prosperity for Iranians, and a non-nuclear future is the only outcome of the current Israeli-Iranian war that would be a success. Any outcome which leaves the mullahs and their dictatorship in charge guarantees continuing Iranian support for terrorism and a new, even more secret effort to get a nuclear weapon. A truce leaving the mullahs in charge guarantees more terrorism and a future war. Imagine the recent missiles on Tel Aviv if they had been nuclear. Dun, dun, dun. No truce with the mullahs. Yeah, wait, Newt likes secularism? Apparently. Yeah, wait a second. Hold on. Y'all are all about secularism. So you know when we call for one democratic secular state from the river to the sea? You know when we talk about there being one state where Palestinians and Jews and Christians and whoever lives there enjoys the same liberties, has equal rights, gets to vote? Where there's no ethno-state, there's no theocracy, there is no prioritization given to one ethnic and religious group. Yeah, that's anti-Semitism. But it's funny because, you guys like Newt Gingrich, y'all do want secularism. You do want democratic secular states. Isn't that interesting? Okay, next up, David Frum. He's the author of the Neocon 2004 Endless War Manual, An End to Evil, How to Win the War on Terror. He's also a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. He helped coin the infamous term axis of evil, used by Bush in his 2002 State of the Union address to gin up antagonism against Iraq, Iran, and North Korea. And it was a speech that was instrumental in spurring the horrific invasion of Iraq. 2 years ago, he wrote a somewhat mea culpa about the Iraq War. While acknowledging the huge mortal and financial cost, he still hedged. Where would the United States, Iraq, and the region be today if the U.S. had left Saddam in place in 2003? Well, I'll tell you, certainly not hundreds of thousands of Iraqis dead at the hands of the United States. Certainly not a country that is destabilized permanently. Caroline Kwan Defense Fund, just okay. Thank you for the 2 months. Don't forget, 1 sub equals 1% of uranium enriched so that I can get nukes. And see ya, Caroline. Gotta go, but thanks everyone for being able to have these civil conversations in chat. Just wish the government could be the same. See ya, Caroline, you're queen. Love all the fighting for everyone's rights. Not just a single purpose, but for everyone to have peace. Hell yeah. Have a good night, Sulpen Dragon. Okay, Sean Hannity, famed syndicated radio and TV host and Fox mainstay, Sean Hannity was a massive cheerleader for the Iraq War. Oh my God, who's shocked? So much so that Trump cited his supposed disagreements with Hannity as proof that he was actually a dove. Even in 2016, Hannity stuck to his guns, saying he was still a real believer in the Iraq War. You know, the thing about Hannity, he'll never back down. All right, at least he's consistent in that. A lot of people who supported the Iraq War later were like, what? I never supported the Iraq War. And then someone would pull up a quote, a clip, and they'd go, everybody was supporting the Iraq War. What did you want from me? What do you want from me? Everyone was supporting whatever. But not Sean Hannity. He's like, oh, no, I think we should have gone even harder in Iraq. I think we should have done even more death and destruction. And he's remained consistent last week, saying that it's inevitable that Iran's nuclear sites are going to have to be taken out. But rest assured, Hannity doesn't, quote, believe this will be a long, protracted war. He laid out that what he views as the only path forward, Israel using a tactical nuclear weapon on Iran. Oh, shit.
To prevent the mullahs from getting a nuclear weapon, this facility must be destroyed. Tonight, the way I see it, there are 3 options. One, Israel could use a tactical nuclear weapon to wipe out the site. They don't have bunker buster bombs.
Okay. Here's the way to stop Iran that doesn't have nukes from getting nukes. We're going to use nukes on Iran.
That would obviously be not only highly controversial, but come with massive risks to the region. I like
that he starts by saying it would be controversial. Like, that's the biggest reason why we can't do that, is because it would be controversial. And then he leads up and he's like, and massive damage to the region. But the most important thing is that it'd be controversial, so it's why we can't do it.
Not a good option. Option number 2, Israel can send in a team of commandos on the ground, also very risky with a much lower chance of success. The third best option involves the United States of America, our military, which is equipped with these 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs capable of penetrating.
Also, Mossad has been in Iran. Here's the other thing, you guys, okay? You know how they're talking about, like, oh, Iran was planning this grand scale attack, and that's why we had to, like, preemptively strike them. That's why we were actually self-defending. We were self-defending because they were going to plan this big attack. You really think between the CIA, between Mossad, between all the intelligence that Israel and the United States have, you think that they wouldn't have seen this big attack that Iran was planning? And when they're like, they're probably going to do an attack, and that's why we had to strike them. Mossad has for years, and same with the CIA, infiltrated Iran. Like, that's how they've carried out assassinations. They smuggle in drones. They have infiltrated all aspects of Iranian civil and political life, and that's why it's ridiculous to be like you're this is surmising that there was going to be a big attack. No, you guys would have fucking known if there was going to be a massive attack, and that actually would have been stopped, but that's not what was happening. B Spinoza, thank you for the prime. J Hearn, thank you for the 31 months. Flowy Chloe, thank you for the 4 months. Conway, 11, thank you for the 11 months. Clopez, thank you for the 33 months. For those of you who are just getting here, I said earlier, but 1 sub equals 1% of uranium enriched here in the Kwan nuclear arsenal. If you want to support me getting nukes to protect myself look, it's dangerous out there for streamers. You got to watch out. I gotta make sure I don't get up and use the bathroom when I'm watching a video. Okay? So, I need nukes to protect myself. If you want me to have nukes, support the stream. Support women having nukes. We gotta get yellow caked up. Okay.
That mountain. Israel does not have this critical weapon in its arsenal, and they do not possess the large bombers that are capable of dropping an ordnance of that size. So now President Trump has a decision to make. Will he deliver the final blow to Iran's nuclear program? Will he?
Okay, what we're looking at here is a piece in Zateo News about these 10 people were wrong about Iraq, so don't listen to them about Iran either. We have been looking at the parallels once again between the invasion of Iraq and the bombing, the war on Iran right now. How the playbook's being run back, but also one major difference seems to be that there's not as much care being put into, like, time and energy being put into trying to convince the public. When we invaded Iraq, when we were going to invade Iraq, public support was not where the Bush administration wanted it to be. So they set forth, they did a whole public campaign. Colin Powell testified in front of the UN. They did a big propaganda campaign to get people to connect Saddam Hussein and his terror regime in Iraq to 9/11. And it worked. And so by the time the U.S. invaded Iraq, public support had gone up to 70%. And then, of course, over time, that support dwindled and dwindled and dwindled until now it is one of those things that most people outright are like, that was a terrible thing. People have tried to pretend that they didn't support the Iraq war even when they did, blah, blah, blah. Except for Sean Hannity. He's one of those guys who never backed down. Never backed down. He was a real believer in the Iraq war back then and now. So he's out here like, look, if it weren't controversial, Israel should nuke Iran. But unfortunately, it'd be a bit controversial. So we probably shouldn't do that. Mr. Mikey D, thank you for the 7 months. Zit Runograph, thank you for the 32 months. Silent Radical, thank you for the 9 months. Tenebrae, thank you for the 4 months. Mylod, thank you for the Prime. Deanie, thank you for the bits. Okay. Ari Fleischer. He also served in the Bush administration and was the press secretary from 2001 to 2003. Back then, he told the American people that there is no question that we have evidence and information that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, biological and chemical particularly, and that all this will be made clear in the course of the operation for whatever duration it takes. In the course of the operation that took decades and hundreds of thousands of lives, things were made clear he was lying. But it's okay. When you're press secretary, you lie on behalf of the administration that you work for, and then you leave and you write a book and you go, oh yeah, no, straight up war crimes are being committed. But I was just doing my job. I don't bear any responsibility here, even though I was the mouthpiece for the president. And I got up there every single day and I lied my fucking face off, but I was just doing my job. Over the last week, Fleischer's Twitter timeline has consisted of cheering for Israel's attack on Iran and castigating Tucker Carlson for being against the warmongering. I pray for Israel's complete and total military success. As I said before, if there were justice in this world, the kind of justice that we are deserving of, all these motherfuckers would be in prison. All of them. Mark Levin. Yeah, God, this guy. I just want to draw on his bald head a giant penis. I just want to draw in permanent marker a big old dick on top of his head. Please, sir. If I... this is fucked. I shouldn't say that. I was just going to say, if ever I have a Make-A-Wish... If ever I have a Make-A-Wish, I'm going to be like, can I draw a giant dick on Mark Levin's bald head? Please. Okay. After a decade... even a decade after the invasion of Iraq. No, you should tattoo. Wait, even better. I'd be like, look, this is all I want to do. Even a decade after the invasion of Iraq, boisterous right-wing voice Mark Levin insisted that the Bush administration actually covered up evidence of Iraqi chemical weapons and that they were right the whole time. Nowadays, Levin is leading calls for regime change in Iran, including with war-hungry bedfellow Hannity and blasting Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's come out against the war. America first, baby. That's why I always get in arguments with people about karma, because how many slavers died peacefully in their sleep surrounded by loved ones? If karma is real, it sucks. Even though JoJo sings karma's a bitch, JoJo Siwa, inventor of gay pop, said karma's a bitch. I do not believe in karma, but I do believe in justice. But justice has to be sought. We have to fight for justice. There ain't gonna be no fucking karma for these assholes. Henry Kissinger died at the age of 102. That man lived a long time. He was honored by Democrats like recently before he had died. That guy should have been he should have been That's what should have happened. But no, I'm sorry, but I'm not a person who's like, don't worry, they'll get theirs. No, we have to do what we can to make sure that they get theirs. And a lot of them will never get theirs. That's why I'm like, if we lived in a world where we had justice the way that we deserve it, these people would not be going back on national television to say the same lies, to spew the same racist shit that they did 20 years ago. And not only that, but they would be in prison. That's what would happen to them. Okay. Listen to them. No, I'm not watching that. The Iranians are about to get their asses kicked, and it's been coming since Jimmy Carter. Thank God we have Donald Trump as president of the United States. You're either a patriotic American who's going to behind fucking Facebook, going to be behind the president of the United States, the commander in chief, or you're not. And that anyone worried about World War III is a Marxist Islamist. God, they love that phrase so much. It's like, if you love it so much, why don't you just marry it? Here, play the best.
Imperial President, please give us Obamacare. I'm going to make you like it, because that's what we radical left-wing ideologues do. Screw you. Screw the Constitution. Screw elections, balance of power, checks and balances. None of it matters. I've got my Obamacare, and you're stuck with it forever with our totalitarian mindset. That is what we do.
Wait, what's the one? No, we need the one where he's just like going, it's like the really, really long, it's like the really long rant. I'm just trying to raise awareness that right-wing dick Mark, wasn't it that somebody set a Mark Levin rant to Master Shake? Wait, what is it? I can't remember. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Is it this?
Gives us peace.
Yeah. Wait.
So I want the so-called, I don't know what to call them. People are running around warmongering the slogan.
No. This is from 2 hours ago. No, it's like a classic.
This should be an education for you, too. This should be an education for you, too. America, don't you feel relief? Of course you feel relief. It gives us peace. So I want the so-called, I don't know what to call them. People are running around.
Mark Levin goes scorched earth after the indictment of Donald Trump.
This is a document case. A document case.
Is
this some kind of a sick joke on the American people? Joe Biden says he never told them what to do. Joe Biden had to sign off on that's becoming a National Archives case to have it go to the Department of Justice.
It's literally Master Shake, dude.
My name is Shake Sula, the mic ruler, the old schooler. You want a trick? I'll bring it to you.
I don't want to hear from the legal analysts the technicalities about false statements and obstruction. This should never have been a criminal case. Willful retention of documents. Well, what's the unwillful retention of documents?
I mean, honestly, I'm going to be so for real. Every Mark Levin.
For the nukes to protect Caroline.
Mark Levin rant just sounds the same. I swear I did this too with, is this it?
And I would say this to
yes, this is what I was. Oh my God, Beasterm, thank you so much. Thank you. This is what I was thinking of. I was like, what is it that I was watching one time? Okay.
All Americans, don't be bamboozled by these cable channels and these fools who come on and tell you, well, he's not above the law. Are you kidding me? Democrat Attorney General in New York, Democrat prosecutor in Manhattan, Democrat prosecutor in Atlanta, Democrat Attorney General in Washington, D.C. What do you mean he's not above the law? There is no law. What's going on here is a disgusting disgrace. It is war on Trump, it is war on the Republican Party, and it is a war on the republic. The radical left is doing what the radical left does while they cover up for Biden the way they covered up for Hillary. If Donald Trump is to be charged like this, Hillary Clinton should have been charged with 10,000 counts of obstruction.
This part worked so... Oh, my God. I remember we were all dying. We were all fucking dying at this part.
Is to be charged like this. Hillary Clinton should have been charged with 10,000 counts of obstruction because that's how many emails she destroyed. And 5 counts of destroying cell phones.
Yes, this is exactly what it was. Yeah, so if you don't know the infamous Mark Levin rants, well, there you go. You've just experienced your first one. G Baby, thank you for the 2 months for the nukes to protect. Caroline, thank you. Shaldiva, thank you for the 12 months. Mike White Grizzly, thank you for the 21. Mr. Mikey D, thank you. Zit Ronograph, thank you. Silent Radical, thank you. Kwan Gun. Yeah, baby, this is what we need. Okay? This is the energy now. When somebody asks you, hey, what's Caroline like as a streamer? What are her streams like? Show them this. Say, yeah, this is it. Hell yeah, brother. That's right. Wasn't this the night the house flooded, then you left us with Aquatine for an hour? Was that the same night? It's possible. It is possible.
This guy literally has the head of a comb, by the way. You will never convince me this is a human. This is an alien, okay? Every fucking military dickhead is like salivating.
They're so shiny.
Saliva coming out.
Why are they all so shiny?
Facility by itself, and then another 60,000 pounds on Natanz. So when you take all that together,
they got old men nutting harder than Lemon Party out here on fucking CNN.
Why do their heads look like they've been enriched? Like they're all so shiny.
Disgraceful. I've never seen so many old white dudes just...
Hold on a second. Hello? Hi. Yeah, can you give me... Is 7 minutes enough? Okay. Okay. Love you, bye. 7 minutes is more than enough time. I mean, in 7 minutes, Iran could build nukes. 7 minutes is plenty of time. You know? All right, moving through this list. John Bolton. This fucking mustache piece of shit. John Bolton, who served as Bush's ambassador to the UN and Trump 1.0's national security advisor, was among the architects of the invasion of Iraq. War criminal! And has stood by it decades later. His assuredness has translated to Iran this month, almost a copy-paste of the decades-old logic. Yeah, we're merely 7 minutes away for the last 30 years. I think one question for the Gulf Arab states and for the United States and others as well is, would you rather face Iran before it gets nuclear weapons or after it gets nuclear weapons? How close is it now? I think it's very close. And I think Israel really has to make an existential decision in the next, I would say, 60 days. You know how close Iran is to having nukes? It's the same energy as when a woman who's asked, "Are you close to coming?" lies and says yes, and then pretends to have an orgasm. It's the same thing. Hey, baby, are you close? In parentheses, not at all. Not even a little bit. Yeah, baby, so close. Yep. I'm about to burst. Women lie. What? I just revealed that women lie. My favorite thing one time in college, I told my boyfriend in college that women fake orgasms. Not all the time, not everyone, but it happens a lot. And he was like, "Well, that's never happened to me." And I said, "Yes, it has." And he said, "No way. No, it's been real every time." I'm like, "Well, how would you know?" You don't know. You ever seen the scene from When Harry Met Sally? He's like, "That has never happened to me." And I would be able to tell. Well, in order to prove a point, I faked an orgasm. And afterwards I was like, "So did you think that that was real?" And the point was made. Yeah. I love the scene in When Harry Met Sally. She's like, "I'll have what she's having." Okay, shit. I have like 5 minutes until Will gets here. So I got to get through this list. All right. John Bolton. Oh, John Podderetz. This guy, I just imagine every time that he tweets, he bursts a blood vessel. Like John Podderetz is one angry tweet away from death. Like he's gonna die. He's gonna be sitting on the toilet. He's gonna be sitting on the toilet, like angrily tweeting about, I don't know, some stupid shit like he usually does, right? What did he say about his father recently? He's like, "My dad has been waiting, he's been waiting to see this day." And it's like, oh, okay, so being a loser is genetic. Got it. Thank you for proving, John Podderetz, that being a loser is genetic, because your father published the case for bombing Iran 18 years ago. And you're thrilled that he's still with you, that he's still with us to see this all unfold. Anyway, this guy, you know what? Twitter is going to be the thing that takes him out. Shitting on the toilet. Devil's advocate. It's not my fault that you don't understand. Skip the list. You are not learning. I don't understand the point. You don't understand the point of a piece that says these 10 people were wrong about Iraq, so you shouldn't listen to them about Iran either. What is so confusing about that? Why is it so hard to understand that these people, who range from being politicians to pundits on massively watched cable news network shows, to what the fuck does John Pod even do now? What is he? Is he just somebody who tweets angrily? Anyway, all these people who 22 years ago were saying the same shit that they're saying about Iran now, and they lied back then, think that they're not lying now? Have you considered Lockheed and Halliburton's point of view, though? That's a good point. Okay, Senators Thune, Grassley, and Graham. Yeah, because these people are so fucking old that they were in power back when we invaded Iraq. All right, that's how old these freaks are. And they're still alive. In 2006, now Senate leader John Thune insisted that victory in Iraq was still possible. 2 weeks later, he complained about Barack Obama not acknowledging the remarkable success in Iraq. Last week, Thune fully supported Israel's Trump-backed war-opening attack on Iran. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley voted to authorize the Iraq war, but later admitted, "All of us that voted for it probably are slow to admit that the supposed weapons of mass destruction didn't exist. Even still, last week, the 91-year-old senator. How is Chuck Grassley still alive? He's 91. He's still out here saying the same shit. The 91-year-old, he should be like watching TV. Why is he tweeting Iran was about to get nukes? Last night, Israel acted to protect itself, but its action, he should be dead.
Do you want to keep streaming?
No. I want to come sit with you guys.
Stream.
No.
It's totally fine.
No. You already got me a ticket and everything.
That's okay.
No, you got me a ticket.
Stream.
You smell like beer.
What? I smell like cologne.
I feel like I smell like beer. Okay. All right. We're leaving right now, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what, guys? We will to be... Wait, hold on. Actually, this was the last one. Senator Lindsey Graham, who recently celebrated the idea of Greta Thunberg being lost at sea, threw his full support behind the invasion. It's been readily apparent for many months that Saddam would not voluntarily part with his weapons of mass destruction. It's long past time for Saddam to be replaced. In the last week, Graham's been eagerly calling for regime change once again in Iran. Game on, pray for Israel. Okay. Anyway, you guys, this was my second stream of the day. If you missed it earlier, I went downtown. I live streamed the anti-war protest that was happening in downtown. No military in our communities here in Los Angeles. No military intervention over in the Middle East. All of this being connected. So if you missed that stream earlier, I did that. And then I came back for a little bit. I am going to go watch 28 years later. Will got me a ticket, so I'm going to go hang out with the crew and go watch the film, and then I will do a review for you guys tomorrow. So I'll be back tomorrow. It is Sunday Fun Day. So just bear in mind, tomorrow, remember, that's our day. That is the Lord's Day. That is our day of rest. I just got back from seeing it. So good. I'm so excited. Deanie, thank you for the gifted sub. Okay. All right. I am going to send you guys to... I'm going to send you guys to Maple Takes. How about that? Let's give him some love. I'll send you over there. All right. That's all I got for you. Thank you for joining me. If you came here later... sorry if you only got to catch 5 minutes, but I'm going to go watch some zombies. I'm going to go watch some zombies as a distraction to everything that is happening. So I hope that, I hope you can find something to distract you as well. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will be live again. And yeah, I don't know. And okay, I'm coming. Goodbye. Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming.